Hello everyone, this is this week's Critical Thinking in the Lab, and you have 3 questions that I would like you to look at carefully. You can pause in between to come to a conclusion as to what the right answer is. So I'm just going to show you the 3 questions first, and this is the last one. And you may pause in between and choose the answer. And now I'm going to tell you which one is the correct one. Now in this question, it says what is the best way to describe the relationship of A to B given the clue in the image. And there's a reason why I would have labeled the skin up here. So in other words, I want you to describe the relationship of A to B with relation to the skin being present. So the best answer, because skin is present here, is A is superficial to B, because I mentioned skin. Now A being lateral to B is also correct, but since I specifically mentioned skin over here, therefore obviously I want you to pay attention to skin and give me the relationship when skin is mentioned. Therefore superficial is the best answer. Remember, it says A to B, so medial would not be right in any case because B is medial to A, not A to B. So you have to be very careful about that too. Superior and inferior are not answers at all because this is a transverse section. As you can see, this is a slice, a transverse, or because this is from the chest region, it could be horizontal too. So you cannot say superior or inferior in such sections. You can only say anterior or posterior or medial or lateral in a transverse section. But in any case, since skin is mentioned, the correct answer is A is superficial to B. Let's look at the next question. Here it says, in which plane has this section been taken? Now this section, all sections always are in the anatomical position. So you can see this is as if the body, the front of the body has been removed and now you're looking at the back. So this is a coronal or a frontal section. So this is the right answer. A coronal section, that's the right answer. And that is because the front has been removed, so it's divided into an anterior and posterior part, and you're looking at the posterior part of this section. So this is a coronal section. Transverse, you already saw the picture in the previous image. A horizontal, in that case, was the same there. A sagittal section always divides anything into a right and a left portion. So if the image was, if this was sectioned this way, then what you would see is this part would be separate and this part would be separate. And in coronal sections, one thing to keep in mind is any structure which is represented on either side, both they will show up in a coronal section. So for example, you have 2 kidneys. So in the case of a coronal or frontal section, you can see both kidneys. Had it been a sagittal section, when you cut it through like this, you'll only see 1 kidney. So, you know, that's one way also to say. Also sections, when you take a sagittal section, any organ is kind of sliced into a right and a left portion. And again, to give you an example, if the kidney was a section, then you take it across like this. This would be the sagittal section of a kidney. So you would get, this would be one part and this would be the other part this way. Okay? So that's how a sagittal section would be. But in this case, as you can see, this is a coronal section. And let's look at the next one, which is which body cavity contains the organ C? This image is from your image database that you were required to visit, and C is the pancreas. So the pancreas lies in the abdomen. So it is, the correct answer is the abdominal cavity. Not the pelvic, not the thoracic, because it's not lying in the thorax. It's not the peritoneal, certainly not the pleural, but it's not the peritoneal, because remember the peritoneal, pleural and pericardial cavities are serous cavities. They only surround the organs. In any case, the pancreas lies behind the peritoneum. But for example, so let's say you have the stomach, and if this is the stomach, the peritoneal cavity only surrounds it in this fashion. You can see that. So this is the peritoneal cavity. It's only surrounding it. Whereas The stomach lies inside the ventral body cavity, which is either the abdominal or the pelvic. So that's again very important for you to understand that the serous cavities, which are the peritoneal, pleural, and pericardial, only surround the organs, and the organs do not lie in them. The organs lie in the ventral or the dorsal body cavities. Okay? So please look at the questions in this way, this manner, whenever you're answering any of them. Make sure you look at all the choices and come and select the best possible choice.